facility. What is that? What is a repack facility?
They take produce that's coming from Mexico, let's say frozen strawberries, and they're going to take it out of the box, and then they're going to put it in another box.
Okay.
So you don't know if they're repacking. You don't know if they're adding anything or anything like that. Anyways, okay.
So you want to give them a kosher certification?
Now that Lori's here, we can start, huh? Yes, because you know something, a repack facility, if they're opening up a sealed bag, anything goes. You don't know
So
what can happen.
How do you give them certification?
You go and you inspect the premises to make sure that there's no additives at all. There's no bags of monosodium glutamate or emulsifiers or whatever it is that they can have. People can add to it.
So you
That it's a
were able-
completely dedicated equipment.
So you were able to certify them?
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, thank God. All right, are we ready to start? Everybody take a deep breath. We're online here. They've been listening to me talk about strawberries, but we're back. We're back. What?
I forgot my book. Are there any handouts?
Well, you can use this book that you gave
But I
me.
need to use.
This might be it.
Well, I brought mine.
Yes.
But I didn't bring an extra.
And there's a book here. So I left a book somewhere. Oh, whatever. We're all good. We're on page 145.
Right.
Okay, page 145 in You Are What You Hate. Okay? So we spoke about something last time called an Ibur. Well, in Ibur, the way that she wants to do this is the way that she talked about Ibur, not the way that I usually talked about Ibur, but basically the way that she wanted to describe it, just to give us a little bit of a concept of the interconnectedness of all of our souls. That I always teach all the time, that we have our soul, and then within our soul is a sliver of everybody else's soul. Okay? And a lot of times they always uses in Kabbalah the micro-macro effect. Okay? That within you is really, we can't handle it if we would really to see it, is the entire universe. Okay? It happened to be while I was driving to Laredo yesterday, I was listening to Alon, now I forgot his name. There was a rabbi in Sfat, right? Rabbi Alon Anava, that's his name, Alon Anava. He was a not religious Israeli. You ever heard of him?
Sure.
No. Yeah? Come on. Yeah, he just says yeah the whole time. Yeah. No. Anyways, you'll YouTube him. It's worth it to listen to because, you know, he was not a religious Israeli and he had a death experience, total death, clinical death, came back to life, and it describes every single one that his soul went through until they gave him permission to come back. And they say, you come back, but this is what you got to do. So you check it out. But the bizarre idea of how he was describing how he would be able to go ahead and be totally in touch with everybody else's neshama. Wherever his soul came in contact with, if he went through a building, he knew every single person's neshama in that building. Every single thing. He would be able to be inside the person with all of their memories and data and everything like that. Yeah, it's a far out funky thing that our soul can do. But of course, since we're stuck in a body, we can't yet. But once I heard that, then my whole consciousness was on a completely different wavelength, right? So, but I didn't become the strawberry, okay? I almost did, okay? But I didn't, okay? So in any case, the idea really is a connectedness that we are to all things. A dynamic, our soul is connected to all things. And within our soul is a sliver of everybody else's soul, alive or dead. Okay, that means there's a Moses inside of you, right? There's the soul of the Mashiach inside of you. There's the soul of all of the tzaddikim, an instant connection we can have. You just got to go on the website, right? Go to balshemtov.com, okay? With your mind, okay? You could just connect with it like a meditation, right? I do this a lot of times to people. When I say, if you could now, and you can, just connect to the soul of the Mashiach within you. Do it when it's quiet and hear what he has to say, okay? But that'll take, that could be some people, they get stuck. So now here we are on page 145. Rabbi Luria identifies 3 levels of soul, each with its own name. Now this stuff we've already done, but she's going to go over it in her language. Each with its own name that comprise a human personality. Each one contributing a different capacity for consciousness. Two of these soul levels are shared with lower life forms, and one of those three is uniquely human. Okay? And Rabbi Luria, she says in parentheses, mentions two additional layers of soul that exert a more surrounding influence on the individual. Since these are not mentioned in the text here translated, so they are not discussed in this commentary, right? As we know that we have 5 levels of soul, 3 are more anchored in the body, nefesh, ruach, neshama. That's what she's going to discuss now. And then the 2 higher level ones that she just mentioned here in parentheses are called chaya and yechida, right? They're way beyond, okay? But there are elements of our soul in terms of it's connected to the oneness. But right now we're just going to discuss levels 1, 2, and 3, okay? Nefesh. Nefesh is the vital soul that keeps the cells dividing, blood circulating, lungs expanding, etc. It also manifests on a more subtle level as the force that keeps electrons spinning, light traveling, etc. Okay? Everything has a nefesh to it, okay? The basic life force element that gives it its existence. I always was amazed in biology class how we don't have to tell our lungs to keep going, right?
Yeah, right.
It's amazing. You don't have to tell the heart to keep pumping. You don't have to tell, okay, they call it the automatic nerve system, right? But still, you don't have to go ahead and be worried about those things. It just functions, right? That's the lowest level life soul that every single thing has. This level of soul is shared by all. Do you have that page? Because you look like you're lost.
No.
Okay.
Page
I
146.
was just trying to figure, did you talk about this? Or did the Garden of Emunah we learned this?
Also, yes, we talked about that last
Yeah.
week and the Garden of Emunah. Correct.
Yeah.
Right?
So
It's a
they all
double
getting-
whammy. It's
are they
all
all
coming
getting
to.
the-
The Lord is with you,
Are they all
my
getting it from
holy
the same-
brother. He shows you signs, and if you just open your eyes to see the signs.
Well, my question is, they all getting it from the same text somewhere?
Yes, the Arizal and the Baal Shem Tov. Correct.
Okay.
They all draw from the same text. Correct.
Isn't that good? I figured that out.
Yeah. This level of soul, the real thing is to get to that main text there, and then you can do your own dance.
All right.
Okay? But this is good.
You'll leave it.
This works. This level of soul is shared by all kingdoms, mineral, plant, animal, and human. Even rocks have a nefesh. If they exist, they have a if it exists, it has a soul. It's a low-level soul, but it is a soul. Okay? And even the people, the quantum mechanics people, the physics people will say, there's energy, there's atoms. They're buzzing around, those atoms. Right? Spinning. Right? Doing their dance. Vibration. The rocks. Yaakov Avinu said he put rocks around when he went to sleep, and he had that dream about the ladder. And then he woke up and it was one rock. Now, he didn't think that was too amazing, because I guess that's how he lived life. He understood what was going on. But why was it so all of a sudden he went to sleep and there's different rocks? I put 8 rocks here, and that was one rock. What the heck is going on? Okay? He wakes up and there's one rock.
I always carry rocks with me.
Thank you.
The reason I do is because I remind myself spinning electrons even in this rock.
Okay, that's nice.
I always
You carry one around your neck too?
Hmm?
You carry one around your neck?
No, just in my bag.
Okay. Problem is, if I throw something like that in my bag, I never see it again until Passover. Okay? Shh. Jacob, Yaakov Avinu sleeps. He puts multiple rocks. He wakes up. There's one rock. He ain't freaked out. Not like we would be. Okay? I know that there was more than one rock. You don't. Now calm down, Rabbi. You don't get this. Okay? What? Yeah.
Good. There's a little enthusiasm going here.
There were 10 rocks, and now there's one. I'm freaking out here. Okay, the idea really is the rocks were quarreling amongst themselves in a vibrational quarrel of sorts. They were saying, I want this righteous man to put his head on me. And this one said, I want the righteous man to put his head on me. I want the righteous man to put his head on me. Right? Why are we all speaking with a British accent. We're in the bloody Middle East. Okay, sorry. It's your fault. I should pay you to come next time.
Nothing, I just sit here.
Stop. Just stop.
I was just
Okay.
We were just saying we
Take
should pay more for the comedy.
Yeah, but that's why it's
He
so
wakes
sad
up.
here.
The rocks were arguing amongst themselves to put that the righteous man should put their head directly under him. So God made a what we call a compromise. He says, "Okay, little ones, we'll make you all one big rock, and you'll all be joined, and you'll all have that portion of putting the righteous man under your head, right?" And then we go, "I'm fine with that." Okay.
Well, it's way more comfortable to be on one big rock.
You ever put a rock?
It's a pillow.
You ever try to, no, it's not a pillow. It's it's not comfortable. Again.
The volcano, of course, is heat enough to break the electrons apart and turn it into then lava. So I think about that too.
Oh, thank you. So the rocks became lava.
Yeah, because they're...
Okay, now we're not going to get into the igneous stuff. Okay. Let's...
They were hanging out.
Every single thing has a vibration. Every single thing has a nefesh. Okay? If we would only connect to it, that's the problem. We're so caught up in looking at the inanimate as inanimate instead of trying to connect to the life force that is within it. Okay? Now, we've lost touch with it, and we need to go ahead and regain that. Okay? I read a book of The Magic of the Ordinary. It was by somebody who was a rabbi, and he went, woo! Okay? But he joined the American Indians, but he did bring a lot of the unbelievable understanding of the American Indian and how they connect to the life force of everything, and they live that. And it's a very beautiful kind of way that he claims the Jewish people had that and lost touch with it. Okay? That's called an exile of sorts. That they call the earth as the Mother Earth. And, they got a lot of other stuff that doesn't fit in. But this is an element which I think does fit in according to Kabbalistic doctrine. Okay?
Just say one
Yeah.
thing. There's some people believe that the Native Americans, some of them were part of the lost tribes. You don't want to say that, don't you? Well, some people.
I did.
said
No. There was a true letter. I read it. Rabbi Ariel Bar-Tzadok, he got a letter. It was a tshuva of a man in Europe. I think it was a Rav in Holland. And the people who went and explored the new country, right, came back. And they said they had a weird phenomenon. They were trying to talk to the natives in all kinds of language. Yiddish, Yiddish, nein, wissel, nein. This, was, ich bin, right? They were trying everything in language, and finally they said they started speaking to each other, Eim lo mevinim shum davar. And he went shalom to them. The Indian answered with shalom. Like, what? They have discovered along the Mississippi very ancient coins dating from the Roman time that actually were owned by Jews. Okay, because the Jews had to own a different kind of coins than anybody else. They have different, I believe that they were Jews. They probably influenced them a lot, not in every way, but whatever, okay? Because Rabbi Victor Miller says, they were doing virgin sacrifices, that it wasn't too cool, and that's why Hashem went to them, okay? Everything happens for a reason, okay? But in any case, the element of that everything has a life force to it is a beautiful way to approach reality, okay? So in any case, everything has a nefesh. Ruach, that's level 2, is the emotional soul. Animals also possess a ruach of sorts. I'm so glad she said of sorts. Because really, animals are not, to every single thing that I've read, they do not possess a ruach. Okay? Because is an animal emotional? Okay? Dogs can be emotional. Cats, I don't think so. Okay? Cats let you pet them. Okay? Okay? But other than that, they do have the emotional, for they express instinctive emotions such as fear and anger. Do they get angry, or is it more like a defense? It's fight or flight. It's from every single thing that I have learned. Any animal, a bear, okay? A bear,
I've seen
okay?
an angry dog.
I've seen them angry.
Are they really angry, or they're just defending themselves and it's like express this anger?
Focus like it is in our human nature, where we like have an animosity toward a fellow human.
Okay, well, she says anger.
Get out of my food.
I would think it would just be fight or flight, and they have to express what would be called angry, okay? But that's our limited human projection, okay? In any case, she does say fear and anger, and so the ruach's base of operations is the heart, as we know. That is the emotions, okay? You have a little picture there on the side if you could read it, okay? And then finally, the neshama. The neshama is the intellectual soul expressed by a capacity for abstract language. It is uniquely human. It is based of operations. Its base of operations is in the brain. Okay, so you have a neshama basically resting or anchored, hooked in the brain. Okay, so that is the highest form, right? In terms of all of these are tzelem Elokim, but the neshama is unique for man. Okay. Our nefesh, ruach, and neshama extend beyond the obvious boundaries of our body, right? As we're all exploring right now. Spinning out soul threads that permeate the people and things around us. I never looked at it as it's spinning out. I would think it would be automatically there. But I guess when you come in contact with the person, I guess that would be called making a connection. Okay.
Your chakras are spinning.
Okay.
And so there's motion.
Spinning out a soul thread, I would think the thread is already there, existing. Because if we're already interconnected, so I don't see why there's a spinning out, a new spinning out. It's maybe just an energy transferring that is happening when you're with that person. Okay? In other words, it's a connection of some kind. Okay? Some people, I got spinning just to see them. You're right. My brain starts to spin. Okay? Forget about my chakras. Okay?
Actually, when you have too much tequila.
Oh, always. That's when I need the tequila. The 7 sphirot that comprise our multi-layer okay. Slivers of our soul may sometimes even reside in creatures or objects that dwell in distant lands. Okay? Interesting, huh? Okay? Creatures or objects that dwell in distant lands. This is a specific kind of incarnation called an ibur. Once she said, like the ibur is that interconnected web. And so teaches Rav Tzadok Cohen. Here he says, everything that a person acquires, spouse, children, servants, livestock, shelter, your house, silver and gold, money in the bank, not the money not in the bank, okay, and possessions of every sort, they also derive from the same root that is the very source of its own soul. Everything in the 3 lower kingdoms, mineral, plant, and animal, they all connect up to at least one human being. Okay? Interesting, huh? Every single thing has to connect to at least, he say, maybe probably multiple. Okay? Everybody benefits from the walls of the Torch Center. Okay? And when it came time that we wore out all of the sparks, the holy sparks, so then they had to replenish the plaster wall, right? The drywall. Okay? When they needed some new drywall, needed some elevation, and they had to reinstall new drywall. Okay? It should be in other ways, but paint, all the things that are happening are there for a reason, and it could be that this building connects to multiple souls, but at least one. All the mineral, plant, and animal, the clothes you wear, okay? So they all connect up to at least one human being who is the wellspring of their spiritual life force. Interesting, huh? You have to take responsibility for your belongings, okay? Because they're dependent upon you, okay? Just like your animals and your kids, yeah.
This is all the whole thing with the Tevi is like if God blessed. I mean, why did He have to bless me so much? Because like all these possessions are connected, and He has to put energy into it to upkeep them.
You missed me. Tebi? I know who Tebi is.
Yeah.
Tebi you're referring to is Rabbi Gamliel's servant?
Like the fiddler on the roof.
Oh, that guy, Tevia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
what
like,
about
why did
Tevia? I
God
missed
have
it.
to bless me so much is because it's like all these things that come from the wellspring of Him. He has to put energy into it to try to sustain it and stuff like that. So
Okay.
It's a responsibility
Ah,
for the blessing.
Very good word. The key word, magic word, responsibility. Okay? The exchange of goods and property is the outer expression of the shifting soul bonds that always exist between a person and his possession. Okay? In other words, sometimes you'll sell it or you'll give away stuff. Okay? And the Baal Shem Tov brings it. Well, let me just finish the sentence. For every object is sustained by the person or people that are at its soul root. And I always bring this down. Okay? The Baal Shem Tov explains why clothes wear out. Okay? Because clothes wear out, or they get tears, or whatever it is, and you stop using them. Or anything, for that matter, is because we use the sparks that are in it. In other words, there are holy sparks that are appropriate to me in this pen. Okay? And when the pen runs out of ink, like now, okay, that means what? I have already elevated whatever sparks that I need for that pen. Okay?
So
For
it's
my
not
shirt, when I have finished elevating the sparks that I need for this shirt, right? If it's not too tattered, I send it to Goodwill. It goes to Goodwill, it goes, sits on the shelf, and somebody else comes by and somehow he makes the soul connection. Maybe he just likes white, okay? He makes the soul connection and picks out that shirt and takes it and he wears it because now it's his turn to elevate the sparks in that shirt. What a way to look at things, okay? Same thing by cars. Those cars, all the inanimate matter, the stones, right? The rubber of the tires, right? You can hear them if you hear at night, right? Let the tzaddik, let the righteous man rest upon me, right? Now, thank God he doesn't mold that car into one rock, okay? Because then you wouldn't get anywhere. But each element of that car that is mind, right? It's all holy sparks for you that you're responsible for, and they get you to what you need to do to accomplish in this world. They are your chariot.
Rabbi, I like the commercial about the guy that says, "Oh, be careful with that car." And she says, "Well, I'm always careful with my car." Yeah, but that's going to be my next car.
I got it, right. There you go. Hand me down. So therefore, when the car's done, of course, you give it to your kids, right? Right? And then, like what happened to me, as soon as I got my license, it was bequeathed to me, the Dragon Wagon, right? Old, beat-up Ford station wagon, right? This is your car. You mean I'm not getting a new Mercury Gran Torino? No? For my birthday? No, I'm not getting it. Here is your car, right? You have to share it with you and your sister. Of course, my sister, she was such a righteous woman. She let me take the car, and she offered to take the bus. Of course, that car within a month died on me, okay? I had elevated all of the sparks necessary. And then my brother took it and says, we can rebuild it. Paid a ton of money so he can drive it for another month, okay? In any case, then he elevated all the sparks. So it moves from hand to hand. Every single thing in creation. When we're done with it and it moves on, either it's to the trash can, the round file, or to someone else, we've elevated all the sparks. That's how the Baal Shem Tov explains why things move through us. But everything in the while it's connected to us, it could be connected to us, or that's my car when you're done with it. Okay? The nefesh layer of soul, going on, the nefesh layer of soul permeates our possessions, be they material, animal, or even human, right? For an employee is a kind of possession, since the utilitarian nature of their relationship only engages the outermost layer of the proprietor's soul. In other words, it only has to do with very outer things, so it's an outer extension. Okay? It's dealing with the most outer stuff. Okay? Ruach, which translates as spirit, is a more inner layer of consciousness, which imparts the emotional sensibility that allows a deeper engagement with the world. It manifests through love, fear, happiness, anger, and sadness that drive our emotional life, particularly our relationships with spouse, friends, and enemies. Okay? As we're going to get to. Okay? So anyways, I read in the Sulam, Rabbi Yehuda Leib Ashlag, that God gave us all of these emotions, of course, which is like your musar, to deal with them, to balance them. When do you express anger? Should you ever have anger? Sadness. Should you ever have sadness? When? Right? Love, joy, right? So how do we have to deal with ourselves with our emotions. That's why God gave us all these emotions. Only order that we can fix it and have it with God. Okay? In other words, it's part of our connection to God. We fixing it with each other down here is only like the stepping stone to really have it with God. Okay? Like what happens to me all the time. Okay? The biggest example is love. The halacha is, the law is, that you're not allowed to kiss your own child in a synagogue. Right? Some people haven't heard that. Maybe you've heard it before. Yes. If you're in the synagogue and your child is there, you should not kiss him. Al pi Kabbalah, according to the mystics. I think according to most, my father-in-law told me that, and I've read it in many places. I just forgot where right now.
Every bar and bat mitzvah, we see that happen.
In a synagogue. In only a synagogue. Not outside in the social hall. You can kiss and hug.
On the bima.
Okay, now I'm going to explain. Now your question is, why?
Right, that's what I was waiting to hear.
Why?
Why? You can't do it.
Why? Why is it not recommended? Let's say you can't do it. If you see somebody do it, you don't shoot him or beat him with a sitter. Don't beat him over with a book. Okay? Don't. Okay, you just lay low. Don't try to. Okay, because it might be above people's heads if you start telling people you're not supposed to kiss your kids in shul, right? They could get annoyed by it, and then you chase them away from Judaism. We're trying to bring people closer. So some people are not ready to hear it. Okay? But the reason why is, did you hear not supposed to kiss your kids in shul? You got that fact? Okay? So why? It's because really what it is, and it's so dynamic, it's so big, we can't really cover it, but I'm going to do my best right here on one foot. When we see an object or anything, really, we all must agree that nobody experiences the same thing the same way. True or not? Nobody, right? Nobody experiences the same thing the same way. So when I see my kid, right, what happens? I go, you just get goosebumps all over my body, right? Oh, it fell inside my heart, right? Right? And, I just... Meanwhile, my kid's teacher in the classroom, like, little brat, spoiled little brat. Can't wait till school year ends and get rid of him. He's impossible. Right? Then you have the teacher's reading. Seems that Shabtai has some problems. Behavioral issues. Okay? So, why... I see him. He's an angel. He's the divine presence in human form. He can do no wrong, right? His teacher don't think that, right? So not everybody experiences the same thing the same way. I'm giving you an extreme example. So where is this feeling in my heart coming from? Huh? Doesn't come from him because not everybody's experiencing him the same way. True or not? If it would be coming from him, everybody who sees him would see the divine presence. But not everybody's seeing the divine. I'm not seeing that divine presence there, right, as his teacher says, okay? So where does it come from? It comes from God. Okay? Through him, I guess. But it doesn't come from him himself. It comes from God. When we're in a synagogue, and all of a sudden we see our kid, First of all, you're in a synagogue. So what's the relationship supposed to be in the synagogue?
You and God. No.
That's right. It's just you and God. God is all there is. Right? Right? So therefore, to go ahead and kiss your kid is an expression of, oh, my love for him is coming from him. Really, you have to use the opportunity to take that emotional charge, and you just say, wow, I understand. Here's just in the synagogue. You have to use it as an exercise. I see that emotional charge, and I have to realize it's not coming from him. It's coming from God. And you have to elevate that emotional charge to God. And you have to really do that with all emotional charges. Okay? Negative, fear, and love are the most predominant. Okay?
That's a nice way to look at it.
Right? So really, that's why you have to. I'm saying it nicely. You don't kiss your kids in a synagogue because you're supposed to be loving God. Hey, God says, who gave you that? What are you doing kissing him? Come kiss me. Right? What am I, chopped liver? Why don't you give me a kiss? No, you don't even give me the time of day for a cup of coffee. I saw you were sleeping in there during the rabbi's sermon. Okay. Okay.
Must you agree with that analogy?
What?
Must you agree with
Which analogy?
the one you just made?
Well, I forgot which one.
You,
Remind me.
you know, you're,
I did a couple of them here.
well,
I
the one
flipped.
that states that you can't kiss your child because you have to be. You can only think about.
You really
God.
should be expressing love for God.
That's right. That's
So then you
exactly
should walk over.
He's
and
number
say
one.
hello to
You can
anybody.
have him. You can walk over. You can say hello. You can shake hands. It's just this one little sliver. It's just this one, because it has to remind you. It's a reminder. Outside the synagogue, kiss all you want. It's just a place where here you have to have your relationship squared away.
You tell me that.
You and God.
That would be a sin.
Because bottom line, no one's going to whip you for it, okay?
Well, they're not going to whip me for anything.
That's right. They'll take you to the turtle races,
That's
though.
right.
Which is worse punishment. Okay? That's it. I saw you kiss your kid. We're going to turtle races right now.
Really, I don't know what turtle racing is. Really, I don't know what that means.
That would be agony for you, though, I'm sure.
Indeed.
Can you imagine? I don't want to.
To watch
Sure.
turtles racing?
Shh, stop. Okay.
And if you're saying hello to someone in the shul,
This is the I'm just
emotion.
explaining.
It's not emotion. That's what the difference
All
is.
emotional charges come from God. Now we have to deal with them because they come from all of our stuff. For either this past lifetimes or this time, there's a lot of stuff. Got to deal with it. Okay?
Well, a guy comes to you and hugs you in the synagogue.
It's fine. He hugs you. That's okay
I
to
can't. I'm
hug.
not supposed to say.
You can
I have to
hug.
hug God.
Hug. But kissing and kiss another man, you could do it. I used to do it in my shul. But our yeshiva was known to be the kissing yeshiva. I didn't know that.
Inside
I was in the yeshiva kissing. Everybody was kissing, and then only when I left the yeshiva and went to this other place to go, you guys are the kissing yeshiva. I'm like, was there something wrong with that? I liked it.
But you can dance.
You can dance, you can sing, you can hug, you can kiss a man. Just your kids. Just your kids.
Kind of crazy.
You have to focus, my friend. You have to focus on where the source of the love is. You have to always know the source of the love, and you have to direct your force of love to loving God.
Source of all.
Just like I love this child, I love you, God, even more. Okay? That's it. That's
Your
the
wife
line.
Okay?
Not recommended. What the heck are you doing? She's on the other side of the mechitza. What the heck are you doing? No, you're going to start something there. Okay. Okay, shh. I'm not even getting... Oh, come on. We have to cover this ground. Neshama is the deepest level of personality called the speaking soul. Ruach Malala. Okay? Very unique, the fact that we speak. It bestows a capacity for wonder. Okay? It bestows a capacity for wonder and deeply internalized understanding. Though intellectual in its nature, it is also the personality's contact point with transcendence. Every creative impulse enters awareness at this level, and so it is the root of progeny, be they children, Torah insights, or other creative expressions. Okay? Always coming, the creative expressions comes through that. And since we are made in Tselem Elokim, in the image and likeness of God, that's how it channels through us, always through the mind. Okay? Through the brain comes the creativity. Hence, children are creative, right? Art, whatever it is, always comes through the neshama. Okay, debrief. Our souls are not confined to our bodies. Though anchored there, they extend way beyond our skin's edge, which is a far out concept, okay? Unconstrained by time and space, they permeate and are permeated by the people and objects past, present, and future, and they all that are also connected to our soul root. We talked last time, 600,000 soul roots. Everything is interconnected. Even those 600,000 soul roots are also connected to a higher level of tree, right? Which go to the 70 that left Egypt. 600,000 stood at Mount Sinai. But before that, who went down to Egypt? It was Yaakov and his children. 70 souls went down to Egypt. And then those 70 hook up to 12. And those 12 hook up to Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Look at it as if a trunk of a tree, 12 branches, 70 branches, 600,000 branches. And from those 600,000 branches, little dendrites and axons that extend into the 16 million on the face of the planet. Yeah.
So I'm a biofield energy therapist, and the way they're describing these inner, outer, middle circles is what we call the fields. And I'm a biofield.
Awesome.
So it's
Okay,
near
cool.
field, midfield, and far field.
So you
I've
come.
never
So
heard
it
described
jives.
as a soul.
Nefesh,
but
ruach, and
it's the same
neshama.
thing. It's
Cool.
exactly the same thing.
Okay. Awesome. Very nice. Middle field, and what was it?
Near field is the closest one. Midfield.
They always
and
stuck
far
me at left field. I always put middle.
Near, mid, and far.
Far out.
It just
Okay.
The wicked is right.
Okay, we have to get to
It's
the.
like when somebody
let's
is
move on.
calling you and you know the phone, you know who it is before the phone rings. They're in your field,
Got it.
and that's how you sense.
If
them.
we'd only listen to the voices in the field, sometimes they're telling you, "Don't go there. Don't go there now." Right?
Pay attention.
And
Pay
also
attention.
Einstein's spooky entanglement, where he discovered it but couldn't prove it, but now they have proven it. At the level of a smaller than a neutron and a proton.
the electrons, you
Yeah.
have them, they're quantum linked, and you have the spin of one changes the spin of another clear across,
5,000 miles apart.
and it shows the communication of data.
So what we're getting here is that this whole interconnected web here that extends all over the world and really the universe. Reality, and that's the whole concept here, why the Kabbalah is so profound, because we're trying
They
to
knew it then.
break through, okay, to really have, and when you have it in your conscious awareness, it's totally different. How you approach things is completely different. And the idea really is to embed it in our awareness, that when we leave here, things are just different. Once you start to see things differently, and really to know yourself, that you are a soul, and extending to places all over, okay? Now let's get to this. Okay, Ki b'sefer Toldos Yaakov. In the book of Toldos Yaakov Yosef, in Parshas Lech Lecha, the following teaching appears. I, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polonia, heard from my teacher, the Baal Shem Tov, the following commentary on the verse. It says, and Hashem saw that Moshe turned aside to see. Okay? Here, I got it here, because I had to have it, because it didn't, she didn't fill in the blanks here. Parshas Lech Lecha. Okay. Okay. So it says here that Moshe, who we know he was a shepherd. Okay? So it says here that Moshe, when he was a shepherd, what happens? When he took his flocks out to pasture for a long time, right? And that's when the whole burning bush happened, and he experienced this burning bush, right? So, which was the Shekhinah. The divine presence or indwelling presence of Hashem includes all the worlds, inanimate, plant, animal, and human, right? All created things in the world, both good and evil. Okay? Every single thing, I guess the revelation at the burning bush from Moses was this all-encompassing, he saw every single thing, really to experience it hands-on. Okay? Rav Safra now quotes a passage from Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Poloni, which presents certain key ideas that we learn from the Baal Shem Tov that have direct bearing on the mystery of enemies. Much of what we know about the Baal Shem Tov's life and teachings originates with Rabbi Yaakov Yosef's writings. Concerning the subject of enemies, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef writes as follows. My teacher, the Besht, commented on the verse that Hashem saw that Moses turned aside to see. There's lots of commentaries about this, okay? To understanding deeper meaning, because don't forget, he noticed that there was a bush that was being burned, and it wasn't finishing. The fire never finished. It just kept burning and burning and burning. Okay? To understand the deeper meaning of Moses' ambivalence with his vision, teaches the Besht, one must know that the Shekhinah is the indwelling presence of God, that aspect of divinity that infuses and comprises the created world. Okay? In other words, there's divinity in everything. We call it in Hebrew Elokut. And our whole objective of our whole life is to see the Elokut, to see the godliness in everything. Okay? All of reality is nothing but divinity in a state of concealment and contraction. It's just hidden. You can't see it. Okay? But really, God is all there is. There's no place where God ends and creation begins. It's just an illusion. Okay? It's an illusion that has meaning, but nevertheless, God is one. He is everything. It's just we can't see it. There is nothing but God. Ein od milvado, we say. There is congealed divinity which permeates the created world. And this is what we mean by the term Shekhinah. Shekhinah has a lot of definitions. Okay? Literally, they translate it as the divine presence. Okay? But really, I have many more definitions for it. Probably the most relevant for this text would be ability to experience the divine. Ability to see God. Okay? The Shekhinah is the God experience. Okay? When we say, L'shem yichud kud shabrichu u'shechinte, for the sake of the unity of the Holy One, blessed be He, and His Shekhinah, means that really, in a certain sense, to give us the ability to experience the divine. It's the ability to experience the divine. And there is divinity, so that is divinity congealed. Congealed divinity permeates the created world, and this is what we mean by the term Shekhinah. And there is divinity unconcealed and uncontracted, which we call the no thing. Okay? The infinite one. Or also sometimes the infinite light. The Shekhinah is immanent. The no thing is transcendent. Okay? So in other words, we are in the field, or we are in the ability, every single thing that we are going to, in order to partake of the divine, we have to have the Shekhinah to do it. Okay? Because basically we need filters. So basically the way that God is going to enable us to taste Him, to experience Him, is through the Shekhinah, which is the concealed elements of God. But really, every single thing in creation is a concealed element of God. Okay? This relationship applies on all scales. On one hand, the light that invigorates an individual cell is Shekhinah. It is divine light that is congealed and constricted itself to become the life force of that cell. Who tells that cell what to do and what to go? Isn't that amazing? No one has to tell it. The light on the next scale up, which surrounds and transcends that cell, appears to be as an infinitely radiant and is rightly labeled as no thing from its perspective because we can't sense it. Yet that very same light is the indwelling Shekhinah, presence relative to the larger organism which hosts that cell. In other words, from what I'm getting here is, right, we have a soul, but we can't really see our soul. But when our soul is in our bodies, we move around, we talk, we walk. But meanwhile, there's elements of ourselves which we can't touch, we can't feel. We can only experience it through the body, okay? From the organism's perspective, one must look to the heavenly realms that surround our world to catch a glimpse of no thing. Interesting how she terms it that. Ein Sof, okay, or no end, or the is. Yet from a cosmic perspective, even that lofty light is Shekhinah presence. Anything that dwells inside the boundaries of the great constriction, that's our universe, the cosmic womb of creation, is an expression of the Shekhinah that resides at its core. No thing is that which surrounds the void. Okay, this is kind of what we spoke about in earlier Kabbalah classes. By God had to withdraw itself, himself, so to speak, make a vacuum, and create within that vacuum all the things that we experience. She calls that Shekhinah. It is a basic principle of faith that the whole world is filled with God's glory, and there is no place devoid of divinity. The light, love, oneness, and goodness of God is ever present. And that is what it means that God is one. Hashem is equally present in a newspaper, as in a Torah scroll, in a murderer, as in a saint, in an outhouse, as in a holy site. Yet, this is not how things appear. We experience a hierarchy of presence. We make pilgrimage to sacred sites and observe holy days because God feels more accessible there. The explanation of this, though divinity is equally present at every point of time and space, it is not equally revealed through them. So that's the idea here is, where is it revealed? Where is it not revealed? Like an outhouse, we're not allowed to say God's name in an outhouse, right? Right? But that doesn't mean God is not there. We don't imply that, God forbid, right? But we don't want to bring God's revelation or his presence there. It's preferred not to, okay? An outhouse. Andy Gump. Okay? It's just not revealed, okay? That's why here, you understand, we go to the Beit HaMikdash. We would go, and in times of the temple, we would go 3 times a year. Everybody would make a pilgrimage 3 times a year because we're hooking into the Mount Sinai experience. You need that charge. You need that inoculation. You need that unbelievable the vortex. You got to check in the vortex. You got to recharge the soul battery. So everybody would go to Jerusalem 3 times a year to check in. It's a holy site, right? Or holy times, Shabbat. It's a time where our soul checks in. So there are windows, right? But that doesn't mean in the place in the 6 days of the week God is not there, okay? Or that means God is not in Houston. God is everywhere, okay? But the idea really that she's saying is revealed versus concealed, okay? Okay, where am I? When the light, love, oneness, and goodness of God is perceptible in a place, we say that the Shekhinah dwells there. And the place or moment becomes a tabernacle in time or space that holds the manifest glory of God. When the light, love, oneness, and goodness of God is concealed in a place, we say the Shekhinah is in exile. That's the big thing, okay? So when I hear stories and people are going through tsaros means pains, they're going through trials, tribulations, things like that. So we say what? Shekhinah begalut. When I see people who are just messed up, they can't seem to make the right decision in life, right? People's lives don't seem to be going on the best mode. What do I say? Shekhinah begalut. It means the divine presence is in exile. Because really we would like to see God revealed everywhere in terms of his goodness, his unity, right? Some people would think that would be kind of boring, wouldn't it? No. Okay? We don't want the Shekhinah to be in exile, okay? We're trying to bring her out of exile, and all of our work is to try to bring her out of exile.
I don't know how you would be able to do anything because you would be in just the state of ecstasy, that it would be hard to do anything else that would be needed to be done. Like,
believe it or not,
that's here for you to do.
We'll worry about that when we get there. But really, you're responsible to create that mental state, emotional state right now, as much as possible. With joy, emunah, right? To be in the state of there's no place where the completeness of God ends and I begin. Just picture that for a second. Sit with that thought. There's no place where the let's say, there's no place where the revelation of God ends and I begin. There's no place where the joy of God ends and I begin. Is it true or not? If God is one, we, with our minds, have to hook in to that concept that there's no place where God ends. There's no place where God is not. At least in the place where it's permissible to do that. Don't do that meditation in the bathroom, okay? But to think about, right, there's no place where the completeness of God ends and I begin. In other words, I'm totally connected to God right here and now. And I am just living an expression of that oneness. This is just one of an infinite of God's expression. This whole experience that we are experiencing right now is just a expression, one of the infinite expressions of infinity that we are now in this experience. Okay? So just to think about that, to contemplate that, sit with that. It's bizarre. It's not bizarre, it's actually wonderful. It's awesome. It's a wonder. Somehow we're living this, and to the degree that, we can, that's what we have to work to just contemplate that. If God is really all there is. And that's, I think I said last week, that's what a mezuzah was for. The whole concept of the mezuzah is the oneness of God. Really, Rabbi Nassim writes down in Rabbi Nachman that that's your vortex of the next world, is the mezuzah. Because Rabbi Nachman says your mind has to be on the next world all the time. Your head has to be there. Because you know something? Wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. And you have to be totally focused on, so that's why you have to put it on your doorways. Because why? You think your doorway, you think your house is a permanent kind of thing? That's not permanent. You have to be reminded what's really permanent is this oneness that we're really bathing in, that we're really in. It's just hidden. It's just concealed. Okay? The idea here is if you don't start in the mind to understand that that it's concealed, right? So then you won't be able to understand when it's revealed. You won't be able to hook in with your mind to that he's really right here, right now, in his completeness. That is all there is. Okay? So the mezuzah is supposed to wake us up to that all the time. Because what happens? We get caught up in the world. When you go out, you're going out in the world, God, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's what's on the mezuzah. Oneness. 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 And you have to let that sit with you everywhere, all the time. Okay? Okay? Let me just finish this. The Shekhinah permeates not just the physical layer of creation, but the emotional, mental, and spiritual planes as well. The entire spectrum of soul light enclosed within the space of creation is Shekhinah. In the largest sense of that term, the mineral, plant, animal, and human kingdoms are concentric layers of her universe encompassing presence. Nothing exists apart from her. This is now where you have to start to entertain a new relationship. Okay? Your relationship to the Shekhinah. Your relationship to the divine presence. It's the mother of experiences. Okay? And though she is divine, she infuses both the holy and profane, the virtuous and the wicked. She encompasses all things. Okay, a little debrief here. The Shekhinah is the soul force that enlivens the entire world. Nothing could exist without her permeating light. Even evil has a drop of Shekhinah glowing at its core. Otherwise, it could not endure. Okay? So everything has that spark that gives us its existence. Just I wanted to get something else, the end here. Something clever. Not clever, sorry. It's way beyond, actually. He says, V'gam anush l'tzadik lo tov. The punishment of the wicked is not good. Ki hu, because that's Gomor and Brachos. Because let's say ki rucho shel tzaddik atzmo shemizeh naseh bnei adam asonim oso. From the soul of the tzaddik himself comes those people who hate him, and he needs to fix them and to elevate them with his prayers. And by the way of his prayers, then they become sweetened at its root, and then umotzi mehen rucho, and he brings out from them his spirit. And then ve'anishar behem kala me'elav, and then whatever's left over remains, it falls away, it breaks away like the chaff of a shell, okay, of a husk, like you throw away the orange peel, or the chaff of the wheat kernel. And this is the ending of Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe Rabbeinu was shepherding his flock. Now, interestingly enough, afterwards, what happened? That same flock reincarnated into Bnei Israel, who he gave the Torah to. All of that flock that he was watching by the burning bush, right? He elevated those very same souls that were within there, that came back, and he gave to them the Torah, and they were made to be his students. Okay? So those people kind of think about, did I come from a sheep? Right? I was a sheep in my past life. What were you? A turtle, and they raced me. Okay? Anyways, everything is for the purpose of elevating. Okay? All of the things around us must be there to elevate. Must be there to elevate. The house is there to elevate. You put them as, right? The clothes is there to elevate. Everything is permeated with the divine. From here we go out into the world, right? And now with hopefully a new frame of glasses to see, start to see. At least you have to think about it. There's godliness in this. There's godliness in here. There's godliness in here. Okay? That's the start, the beginning of your Jedi training. Okay?